Hey guys, this is Bharadwaj with Phone Arena, and this is the Galaxy S4 Zoom, as you can see from the back here. So we had unboxed it earlier and having a bit of a play around with the device. We posted the camera samples recently, and now we are reviewing the camera. That is a full in-depth, detailed review of the camera alone. So let's get into it. First up, the specs. The Galaxy S4 Zoom has a 16 megapixel camera. The 16 megapixel camera is supported, or in fact aided by this huge monstrosity of a lens over it. So the 16 megapixel CMOS sensor is sized at 1 by 2.3 inches and has a 1.34 micrometer pixel size. It's pretty decent and pretty normal in point and shoot terms. The lens, however, has a 4.3 to 43 millimeter lens. So this is that's why it's a 10x zoom. That's a zoom multiplier that we usually don't use in pro cameras. And again, this 4.3 to 43 millimeters is equivalent to 24 to 240 millimeters in 35 mm focal length equivalent. And it also has optical image stabilization for better stability in full zoom and longer exposures in low light. And also, as you can notice here, the aperture rating is f3.1 to 6.3, which is pretty slow, but then that is a constraint of a compact camera. You get f3.1 to f6.3, unlike f2.8 on the Galaxy camera. Also, the ISO on the sensor can go up to 3200, and of course can record full HD 1080p video. So that is a quick run through of the camera specifications. But then let's take a look at the camera UI itself here. So this is the camera UI, pretty nice and very similar to the Galaxy camera. On the top you can notice the shutter button here, two-step, and you can increase and decrease the zoom using the dial here. The dial that is used for increasing and decreasing the zoom. This is electronically adjusted and not physical, by the way. So yes, that's the UI here. On top right, you have it says that auto mode and has the battery life indicator. This is the shutter button, of course, the touch shutter button in case you don't want to use the hardware shutter button. Here is the mode dial, which has four different kinds of options for modes: auto, smart, expert, and my mode. So auto is auto. Obviously, you can't change anything and everything is in auto. And here's smart. Smart has a lot of modes that are borrowed from the Galaxy S4, the Galaxy camera, and whatnot. It has two different viewing modes, a grid and a carousel. On the grid, it is better to show you on the grid. So smart mode suggestion is obviously the best shot that gets from a burst of pictures here. And the best photo is similar. Continuous shot is a burst mode. Best face takes a burst and lets you select the modes. And all these other things are pretty normal in a point and shoot. You have HDR, you have action freeze, you have drama shot, animated photo, eraser, sound and shot. So these are like from the Galaxy S4. This My mode lets you select 5 pre-configured modes for quick selection, and you can edit it to include a total of 5 modes, different modes, smart modes as well as expert modes. The expert mode has a snazzy dial-like interface that has programmed color correction mode and the manual mode. So programmed cannot change the shutter speed and the aperture, and can change the other things like ISO, white balance, exposure, metering, and shooting modes. But as you can see, you cannot select the aperture and the shutter speed. But in the manual mode, you can select the shutter speed, the aperture, and every factor imaginable in this camera. That makes it like really intriguing for a pro user, and the interface is also quite good. And in the color correction mode, you can change the exposure, you can change the color palette, hue, saturation, sharpness, and contrast. So that is the color correction mode. You can use it. It's called the color wizard, and you can take really brilliant shots with it. And instantly you can record the video from the video button. Pressing it will start recording the video. You can pause the video, of course. And from underneath, as you can see here, quick effects. Very normal effects, nothing special, nothing like Instagram. You have effects down there, which is pretty normal. And over at the bottom left, you have the gallery option. Here, the zoom icons for touch zoom. Yeah. And this is for the front facing camera. This is for further settings, which you usually see on all the Galaxy cameras. So as you can see here, OIS, quality, face detection, focus mode, white balance, and here's for video 1080p 30 fps, multi-motion. As you can see here, different modes for, you have 720 60 fps too, and there is multi-mode option that lets you record in slow motion. Sound and wind cut are pretty self-explanatory, and then you have like sharing options here and even further settings for the camera. A lot of settings and a lot of functionality on the S4 zoom that you don't normally see on camera phones, perhaps, like for example the S4. So yes, that was a quick tour of the camera UI. So let's talk about the camera performance then. Here are some daylight samples from the camera. So as you can see here, the daylight samples have good color reproduction, and they are very good in terms of brightness and contrast. But if you notice the 100% crops, you would see that the pictures are slightly edge sharpened and not really natural. So that might put off some professional level performance seeking people, but otherwise it is pretty good. And here are some macro samples. The macro can go really close, approximately to 4 centimeter distance at minimum focal length, which is pretty amazing and really nice. I mean, macro shots look really good on this camera. So if you're into macro shots, then this is really good. The S4 zoom is really good. And here are some low light samples. Low light is also surprisingly decent, and thanks to optical image stabilization, the shutter speeds can go as less as 1/6 and takes a very high ISO 1250, and does some noise reduction on the photos, and they do seem a bit lacking in detail and mushy, but they are certainly very usable at 16 megapixels. And finally, here is a full HD 1080p video sample that we shot earlier. In the end, the Galaxy S4 zoom is a pretty decent point and shoot slapped onto a phone. If you're okay with the bulkiness, and if you're okay with carrying it everywhere and using it as a phone with the weird form factor and the awkward usage, it'll serve well. But then, is this really worth that effort? We'll let you know in a complete review. So that's all about the camera review. Thanks for watching. Do hit the like button if you like this video, and do subscribe to our channel for more videos like these. Thanks for watching.